Hi, I'm Erica from AccuQuilt, and I'm here today to talk to you about putting together our super fun Gone to the Dogs quilt. You can see it hanging behind me. We've got great fun novelty fabric with adorable puppy dogs and paw prints and some great little newspaper print, and if you get up close to it, it's got little newspaper stories about dogs. It's just adorable. So we're going to use this great Timeless Treasures fabric in this quilt, and I'm going to show you how to put it together. So it uses dies from our 12-inch cube and also our 12-inch companion. Now the 12-inch cube and companion are going to fit in either our Go Big electric that I have here, or they'd also fit in our Go Cutter. Either way, you're going to get a fast, easy, and accurate cut. And one of the things that I like the most about our dies is that you can tell with our two-tone foam exactly where to lay your fabric. And you can also see on this Drunkard's Path piece we're going to be using that the notches to line up our curves are already cut for us. If you've ever cut out garment sewing and cut out sleeves or something and had to cut that by yourself, you know what a pain and how time-consuming that is. This is a great benefit. So this is the Drunkard's Path from the 12-inch companion. We're going to be using this along with the rectangle that comes in the 12-inch cube. So these are the two main pieces we're going to be using for this quilt. So let's get started with this. We're going to cut the Drunkard's Path and sew one together. Now I know some people get a little nervous when it comes to cutting curves and sewing them together. So we're going to walk you through that and show you how easy it is. We've got two different fabrics here. We've got our white, our background fabric, and then we've got our focus prints here. Now we have used yardage to put this together, but definitely fat quarters would work for you for these outer pieces of the Drunkard's Path, but your background fabric is going to be yardage for you. Now we're going to line this up just like we normally do. We're going to take our straight of grain and have it parallel to our lengthwise blades as it goes lengthwise through the cutter. And I've got our white background fabric. It's just going to fit right over here. I'm going to lay that on here. I'm going to pull it out a little bit. And then I've got my Drunkard's Path fabric. Now, I've got 6 layers of this, which would normally cut just fine on a Go and a Go die, but I'm going to have some overlap here, you can see, and I've got 4 layers here. So what I'm going to do so that I can just cut it all together is only cut 2 layers of my black fabric so that I don't have to worry about having too many layers. So I'm going to lay that on here again. I do have a little extra here. My Go Big is not going to care. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to put my mat on top. You want to use the mat that fits the die you're using. You'll get your best and easiest result. And then I'm going to take this over here to the cutter. And I've got this extra fabric. I've loosely folded it over and I'm going to feed it through. What I don't want it to do is get up on top of my die, because that would give me more layers than my cutter wants. Even though it's not under the mat, it would still cause a problem. So I'm going to go ahead, slide this off. Okay, so here we go. We've got our pieces ready to cut for the outer side, and this is, some people call this the smile part of the Drunkard's Path. And then I've got, pull this off, and I've got my background fabric. So these are going to line up. Now you're always going to have your best and easiest result when you're sewing a curve like this Drunkard's Path, if you line it up with your smile on top. So the first thing I like to do is line up my center notches. I've got those two put together right here. Hopefully you can see that. And this is when you use pins. I'm a pinner, but even if you aren't, this is the time to go ahead and use a couple of pins and bring them to the party. So I like to start with that center notch and then put a pin at the beginning to help me get lined up and off to a good start. And then I'm going to put one at the end as well. Let's get this one lined up. You're going to see that it eases through really easily, so don't be scared of it. We're going to get through this, and you're going to get a great result from it. Okay. We're just going to take this over to the sewing machine. Like I mentioned, I'm going to take a couple of my first couple of stitches to make sure that I'm lined up and off to a good start. I'm going to stop and pull my pin out. We certainly don't want to sew over that. And make sure that the first half of my curve is lined up and ready to ease in. And I've got a 1/4 inch foot on here, but you certainly wouldn't have to have that on if you didn't want to. Take your time till you get till you get in the groove here with it. I'm going to go ahead and sew right up to that, right before I get to that notch in that pin, and again pull out the pin. I'm going to reposition, realign, make sure I'm ready to head to the finish line with this curve. And again, it's going to ease in really nicely for me. Some people may like to pull up and use a stiletto or some kind of I've even been known to use a seam ripper to help you make sure you get that last end in when you get to the very end. So we're about there. I'm going to go ahead and stop, pull out that last pin, make sure I'm lined up, grab my stiletto to give me a hand. Way better than sewing my finger. And we're done. So I want to take this over here and look how easy that was to put that together for us. I'm going to press it. It's going to press out beautifully. I know if you're a garment sewer, you're looking at that thinking, do I have to clip that curve? You don't. It's going to press out beautifully for you. And just that simply, we've got a perfect drunkard's path square. We would then take this to finish this off and sew the rectangle to the edge. Whoop, turn it the right way. Sew our rectangle over on this side. These rectangles are going to make the sashing that we see in between our blocks. And note that when you get to the end, when you get to this end, you don't have one on that far side because you're running into your border. So check your directions for the specifics, but it's that easy to sew those curves, so don't be afraid of them. We've got this print, like I may have mentioned, is a directional, so if you're doing something like this, you will want to pay special attention to how you cut your fabric so that it's going the right direction. But if you're using something like these fun little paw prints, you don't have to worry about it at all. For more inspiration like this, be sure to check our Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and AccuQuilt.com. Remember, here at AccuQuilt, we help you cut time so you can quilt more.